What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Game Eye Podcast, your place for all sports, video games, pop culture, and everything in between. This is Chip and Carlo again, back with another episode. Thanks for joining the show. So last year, in the onset of this pandemic, I did this thing on Facebook where I did a March Madness style tournament of the best sports movies. Well, basically basketball and football, right? I did that because it was a replacement of the usual March Madness status updates that I do every damn year. It's just my thing, you know? Anyway, I called this the Movie Madness because it was where I gathered the top 16 movies first for basketball and then American football. And thankfully, great friends participated in that tournament. It may not be as conclusive as we all hope it would be, because the sample size was small, but it sure was fun. Yeah, I had a great time there. I had people in my network decide by voting for their favorite movies per match via comments or emojis on Facebook, basically mga likes, heart, and whatnot. And we would like to re-explore that part and share the best sports movies of all time in honor of March Madness. Before we do that, let's jump into our high five of the week, where we make it known what positive thing that happened to us recently. Carlo, ikaw ba? I mean, I've been speaking in this damn thing since earlier. Why don't you share yours first?
No, man. I mean, how are you today?
I'm fine. It's a good weekend. It was a good weekend that I'm having. Ang init.
Yeah, I know, right?
It really is hot.
Sobrang
right?
init na.
Sobrang init these days, di ba? Pero like, I know that's not something positive. Depende. If I was at the beach, that would be something positive for me. But I'm in the city, so that's not something positive.
It feels like.
But ikaw ba?
Yeah, it feels like this is our usual weather here in the Philippines and in Manila na parang may nag-on na lang and off. There's an on and off switch that comes in and out when it comes to the heat. Especially in the morning, we used to have a very cold mornings. Now right now sobrang init na pre. But high five, basically, well, I wouldn't call it too much of a positive thing because I know you and I and some of our friends have been discussing the Justice League Zack Snyder cut, right? And I did finally watch it just last night actually. And I can't believe it took me for all 4 hours of it. I think the movie was very good. I'm not gonna go into too much detail on that one for now. But I did enjoy it for me. There were some things, myself, me, Chip, because I'm not really a big comic book fan. So obviously there were stuff that items that I did not really understand or did not follow. So I was reading through some research, on the timelines or the storylines that the movie was trying to present. So yeah, but I did enjoy that. So that was a good change for me because it was a new movie. It's a movie that probably would have been shown in cinemas or in theaters if the things were all normal pa rin naman. Pero not, right? So I watched it on HBO Go. Thank you, HBO Go. We're not being sponsored, by the way.
Sponsors?
Yeah.
No, we're not.
But we're open.
Would be nice though.
We're open. But I did enjoy that. So that's my high five.
Cool. I'll high five to that. For me naman, well, thankfully I'm still alive. That I mean that well because I think it was about a few weeks ago, around a week and a half ago, I got ill. A week ago, I got ill. It was a one-day thing. Di ako pumasok nun. I lost my appetite. I had bad stomach feeling. I had fever. So parang, alam mo yun, inisip ko COVID eh. right? I was thinking, it may be COVID, pero hindi siya nag-progress into something because the next day I felt good. I was able to regain my appetite. So it was really something that I ate that that got me down. So thankfully it was not COVID, right?
Was it like a bad case of food poisoning?
Probably it was a bad case of food poisoning. So I'm saying that's not my high five. The high five is hindi ako
well, at least it's not COVID, pre. Yeah, that's good.
That's exactly the point. That's why I'm going to high five to that. And I'm really thankful hindi ako na COVID, hindi ako nakakaroon ng COVID, or else I'll be in the hospital. Much like a lot of people out there. So you guys, please stay safe. Ingat tayo, doble, triple ingat tayo. Wear your mask. Adhere to safety protocols like face masks, face shields, and even use some alcohol from time to time. Alcohol gel. Kada hawak nyo ng something, alcohol gel kayo, whether or not you're at home. Because that would definitely help us fight this COVID thing.
Yes, sir.
It's something we need right now.
Yeah.
Really, if we want to go back to our normal lives, let's cooperate with one another. Let's work like a team.
Yeah, vigilance, constant vigilance. Part. Yeah, and again,
high five to that.
High five, definitely. All right. So before we move on, we first wanted to thank everyone who has been listening, in our episodes in our show. We actually have listeners coming in from Canada, Kuwait, Germany, the Czech Republic,
nice,
and Peru.
Peru.
Yeah.
Oh, gracias, chicos. Gracias.
I mean, this is very surprising, apart from our usual listeners in the US and in the Philippines. But wherever you are...
Don't forget Vietnam.
And Vietnam, right? But, these are the new countries, right? And we can't believe that there are people there who are listening and streaming our episode. So, wherever you are, we wanted to thank you. Maraming salamat for tuning into the show.
Gracias, danke, maraming salamat. Thank you so much, guys, for the support. We will try to keep things as interested as you may want it for you guys in our episodes moving forward. And I hope that this episode would have that same interest or more. And please do share our programs to your friends. Please do share our podcast to your friends and family, or whoever.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And then more thanks, coming your way. We just also wanted to thank Jiki Lee. She was our last guest from the last episode about esports, where we had a quick chat with her. Thank you so much, Jiki. Catch her on her Jiki Lee Lux page on Facebook for the usual streaming of her Mobile Legends tournaments. And speaking of our last episode, you can also listen that on our usual channels like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much, Jiki.
Also, thank you to those who have engaged with us through our Facebook page, such as in our Kai Soto episode post. Just to quickly run through, they are Anthony and George. So thank you guys for engaging with us, and hopefully we can, and we look forward to engage with other people online through our Facebook page. And we still have a lot of things happening this March for the podcast and for our website. So just stick around for those.
Yep.
We'll be keeping you posted on that one.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Speaking of March.
You mean March Madness? Ano ba yan, pre? Is that like the Champions League for basketball?
Well, when we say March Madness kasi, Carlo, it's basically the men's basketball tournament for the US NCAA, which is a single elimination tournament played at this time, March to April, that would feature basically 68 college basketball teams from the different conferences or leagues in Division 1 basketball. So that has been happening every year. It's a year later, except last year when they canceled the 2020 NCAA tournament. So we all know who everybody was not able to participate in that tournament because of COVID, diba? But yeah, essentially that's March Madness. That's basically what I do. Do you follow March Madness?
I get mad at March because of the heat, like what you mentioned. But no, unfortunately, I don't follow the tournament. What I do get is news from time to time, especially from you, because you do your usual posts about March Madness. But and what I hear, most commonly is Duke, North Carolina, Florida, Connecticut, which actually is the school that my aunt came from, or where she did her master's and PhD. So I'm a big fan of the Huskies. And so on, yeah. So, yun yung mga
Well.
usual ko naririnig.
Carlo, when you say Duke in North Carolina, please say North Carolina first.
Okay.
Because Duke is always second behind North Carolina. I'm sorry, that's my pet peeve. well, sorry. I'm just really a diehard, North Carolina fan.
Yeah.
Even though I don't belong in that school, I'm not an alumnus. I'm neither a student. I'm not from North Carolina. I'm not from the States. But for some reason, being a fan, and after reading a few books about the North Carolina Tar Heels, it I can't help it, but I became a fan. I can't help it. It can't be helped to be a fan, to be a diehard. Yeah, casual fan now dati. Casual fan now before.
For the longest
but now
time,
it's more about being a diehard.
For the longest that I've known this guy, I've always seen him supporting North Carolina. So, yeah, my mistake. Mea culpa. It's North Carolina and Duke. All right, let's go for that. All right, so let's go for it, Chip. We're discussing movie madness and very excited actually to cover this with you kasi these are actually some of these movies, these are actually our favorites, right? But explain to us what's going to happen in our discussion today.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of things that I want to say when it comes to this one. But kasi I usually do a game by game NCAA tournament update every mid-March on to April, right? From the very first round, there are about 64, 32, 16, 8, 4. There are 6 rounds kasi in the NCAA tournament. Starting with the round of 64 teams, down to 32, down to 16 teams, down to 8. So, nafe-filter siya. And the NCAA tournament really determines a national champion. A legit national champion. Not like some national tournaments that other places do. Na parang feeling ko hindi siya legit national championship. PCCL. So, it's I really enjoyed it because meron siyang sense of equality or fairness when it comes to the NCAA tournament. What I like about it is because it's a one game and then you go on. It's when you win that one game, you go on to the next round. If you lose that one game, you go home, essentially. Ganun siya. That's why I like, that's why it's called also March Madness, is because ang daming pwede mangyari sa tournament na to eh.
Right.
The top teams sometimes get, they lose to lower seeded teams or Cinderella teams. And that's one of the things that I like about the March, about the NCAA tournament.
So
kasi may mga ganun.
Parang free for all na siya, right? Free for all.
Free for all. I mean, it luck has something to do with it also. Kasi, for example, you're the top team in this. You're one of the top teams in the NCAA and in college basketball. You need to prove that you're a top team consistently, or you need to validate that being a strong team all the way to the national championship round. If you don't, it's not that wala kang kwenta. It means that you're just not really one of the best teams.
Yeah.
Right? So, ganun yung nangyari, or ganun yung naisip kong pwedeng gawin last year with the replacement of my NCAA tournament updates
with movies.
By creating this with movies.
Yeah.
So I gathered the top 16 basketball movies as of March 24, 2020. That was last year. As of that time, ang ranking niya from 1 to 16. Oh, by the way, I removed yung documentaries because there were documentaries that were labeled as part of the top 16 movies. So parang there was one that I removed. I didn't include that kasi parang feeling ko unfair.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was unfair to include the documentary kasi pag documentary, you'd really be into it. Right?
Yeah.
It's very factual. Right. So for basketball, is it okay if I just list it down quickly?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
So from 1 to 16 in that order, it's Coach Carter, it's White Men Can't Jump, He Got Game, Hoosiers, Space Jam, Glory Road, Love and Basketball, Above the Rim, Blue Chips.
Gosh.
Where's my number 10? Like Mike.
Like Mike. Okay.
Semi-pro. Number 12, we have Basketball Diaries.
Mm-hmm.
Number 13, you have Finding Forrester.
Nice.
Number 14, The Air Up There.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Air Up There. Number 15, it's ito parang semi-documentary, but I considered this as a good movie. It's called The Pistol, Birth of a Legend. It's about Pistol Pete Maravich.
Yep.
And 16th best movie is The Sixth Man.
Okay.
So
and where did you get the
Carlo,
list from?
you participate. I got it in the website. I got it in the website that enables fans to vote about a certain ranking of this particular movie. So hindi lang siya sports movies, but it's action movies, comedy, 90s movies, parami yan.
Right,
no?
right.
So pinili ko lang yung basketball movies talaga. I also did for American football, but inuna ko si basketball because at that time it was March Madness. And March Madness was about basketball, right? So that's what I did.
Like Mike talaga, number 10? It's in the top 10? Talaga ba?
Like...
Seriously?
Was like Mike a top 10? Yeah, it was! It was! See, from that list alone, Carlo, parang may isip mo, is this list for real? Is this list even legit?
I'm wondering that.
I mean, siguro mag-agree ka with some, with some movies here that they are at this certain rank. Pero yun nga,
the list
to your dismay,
like Mike was included.
Like Mike was top 10, diba? Right. So, for those who don't know about Like Mike is a movie which has Little Bow Wow as the main character, and then you have a bunch of NBA players who made cameo appearances in that movie. Parang feel good kid family movie.
Yeah, and the premise was this yung parang pair of sneakers that was supposedly worn by someone great. Like,
by someone great.
We kind of know who that is, like the title implies. Pero okay, sure. Like, I mean, it was a democratic process anyway. The votation was.
It was. Yeah, so ang sistema ko dito, Carlo. So basically, it's number 1 versus 16.
Yeah.
Number 2 versus 15.
And so
3 versus 14, and so on and so forth.
5, 12, 4, and 13. Yeah, I mean, we're patterning it after the March Madness format anyway. Okay.
After the March Madness, correct, right? So, and then, ang ginawa ko nun, I posted every lunch hour, and then people would thankfully, people participated in it, and that's what I liked about it. Kasi may nag-participate eh.
Yeah.
Hindi siya linangaw. So, parang, again, even if it was a small size in sample, it was still fun. Kasi nag-determine, people participated. And at that time, siguro, people were able to participate kasi wala silang magawa sa bahay, or, people can't go out. Very limited ang entertainment. So parang, I mean, it was a good time to do that.
And this list that you had, Chip, yung final form, I mean, the whole thing that you did, the bracketing thing that you did for these movies, it was actually very helpful when the quarantine started. Like what you said, we participated, right? Your network, myself included. And what I found,
you did.
Yeah, I found useful here is, I have missed some of these movies, or probably my chance to rewatch some of them. So it was kind of helpful na there's a suggestion, right? Or maybe an indirect suggestion from you na. And knowing you being a sports guy, I definitely listen to you na, alright, so if this is what Chip says na magandang movie, then I'll definitely rewatch it. So okay, so let's try to.
Pero it's not. I didn't have a hand on, deciding dapat ito yung nanalo. I didn't have a hand in that. No,
you kasi essentially moderated.
I basically that. I moderated the thing. People voted through likes and emojis or even comments. And that's what they did. And correct, people were actually, hopefully people were reminded, like you were reminded naman, oy, parang ito pala, 16 movies. Parang, ako pa, hindi ko napapanood dito. Or maybe something that I can rewatch, di ba?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's like more. And I took a look at those 17th rank and below. Parang there were other good movies in that one.
Correct,
right?
correct.
So that's what I did.
Right. No, what I wanted to say is, so Chip was like actually, recommending and providing these list of movies indirectly. And it was actually fun. I had to rewatch some of them and so on. But let's focus on the list now. I'm looking at the last tournament bracket. Can't believe that I'm using this term for looking at movies. We will be focusing though on the Elite Eight. Wow, stig nung term.
Elite 8 na tayo.
Elite 8 na tayo. Kasi,
yeah, it's the Elite 8.
Yeah, some of these
movies call it in the States naman.
Yeah, some of these movies actually are not too familiar with me. Like for example, the Pistol Pete. I'm actually very interested to watch that. So for sure, right after this, you'll be probably catching me watching that. But just to for the interest of time, we will cover only the Elite Eight. And those that have moved forward from the round of 16, those who have voted from Chip's tournament. So there's a couple of or a number of movies here that moved on. So number 1 seeded is Coach Carter versus Blue Chips. The number 5 seed Space Jam and versus the number 4 seed Hoosiers. 11 is Semi-Pro. Wow, probably one of the greatest movies ever made. I mean that sarcastically, by the way. Don't take me seriously on that. Versus He Got Game and Like Mike. Oh God. And White Man Can't Jump. This is a pare classic tong White Man Can't Jump. So yeah, we will go over each bracket. Kung ano yung mga likes and dislikes namin ni Chip, and how we progress and forward to the final 4 and eventually the finals. So where do you want to start, bro?
Pero just an insight lang, Carlo, because so sino ba yung mga tinalo nitong mga to?
Sure.
Coach Carter beat the 6th man. And then Blue Chips advanced over Above the Rim, which some actually disagreed. Although that would be, I would say that would be not really near as controversial, right? I don't think it would be. And then Space Jam, it beat Basketball Diaries. Those who don't know what Basketball Diaries is, it's a movie where it starred Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Wahlberg when they were young, early 90s pa to.
Marky Mark.
But Marky Mark, yeah, that's correct. But it was a true story. It was based on a true story. It was based on a true story about hoops, drug addiction, and whatnot.
Right.
So dun siya napunta, right? And then Hoosiers. It's actually it's a celebrated movie in the 1980s where it starred Gene Hackman. It beat Finding Forrester. So,
seriously?
Gene Hackman versus Sean Connery.
I got stuff to say about that. Okay, go ahead.
But it's not that. Sean Connery wasn't the one playing basketball. But it's Finding Forrester. It was a good movie naman din, right? And then Semi-Pro, it beat Glory Road. That was a huge upset kasi Semi-Pro was an 11 seed and then Glory Road was a 6 seed, right? Glory Road is a movie based on a true story about the University of Texas and El Paso miners, or what they used to be called the Texas Western miners. What was the feature of that? What the feature of that movie is that yung highlight niya, Carlo. It basically had the 1966 Texas Western miners beat the Kentucky Wildcats in the national championship game in what many dubbed as the greatest upset in NCAA history. And it was also the very first game where you see 5 black players as part of the starting 5, as the starting 5 of Texas Western,
right,
against a predominantly white Kentucky team, coached by one of the very best in Adolph Rupp. Pero yun nga yung point in 1960s America, where civil rights were at its height, right? Kasagsagan, and
it was a Disney film, right? Glory Road.
It was a Disney film, if I'm not mistaken. It was a Disney film, but also produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. So ganun siya. And they, maliban sa 5 black players, they also played 2 other black players. So all black players for Texas Western were the ones who played in that championship game. Wala yung mga white folks na teammates nila.
Right.
They didn't play in that game.
Interesting.
Right? So anyway, natalo si Glory Road ni Semi-Pro. Right?
Versus Semi-Pro na, versus na one of the parang so totally true na team, the Tropic Thunders and, Jackie Moon and stuff like that. So medyo
Tropic Thunder ba yun?
Tropic Thunders. Yeah, yun yung Tropic Thunder. No.
No,
The
it's not
Tropics,
Tropic
the
Thunder.
Tropics, something.
Flint Tropics.
Yeah.
Flint Tropics.
Flint Tropics.
Yeah, that's their team, Jackie. But it was loosely based in that idea kasi the American Basketball Association back then merged with the NBA.
Yeah, there were four teams, right? Napapuntang NBA.
There were 4 teams. Napapuntang NBA. So San Antonio, Indiana, Denver, and New Jersey, I think.
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey, or no, Philadelphia. I forget. It's one of those teams.
But the ABA was the diba? Yun yung kingdom ni Julius Erving before he made the move to the NBA, and he actually won a lot championships in the ABA before he. I mean, it might be a little known fact to everyone listening in, right? Na Dr. J, probably one of the most prolific dunkers in the NBA, na he moved forward from the ABA to the NBA. Pero the
correct
semi-pro is like
Carlo, I want to correct myself. It was the Nets that transferred from the ABA to the NBA, and they were not New Jersey back then. They were still New York, the New York Nets.
New York Nets.
So
right. Yeah. Anyway, and then the last bracket here is Like Mike versus White Men
Like Mike versus White Men Can't Jump. Like Mike defeated 10 seed na Like Mike defeated number 7 seed Love and Basketball that starred Omar Epps. It was that movie. I would say it's okay lang. It was an okay movie. I kind of disagree with that being a 7th seed at that time. Right now it could probably be a lower seed the way I see it. The movie doesn't suck, just to let you know. It wasn't that great either. It's basically about 2 varsity basketball players, isang lalaki, isang babae. And then both went on their separate ways after college. The guy wanted to be in the NBA pero suffered an ACL injury in his very first game while playing for the Lakers. And then the girl naman, who was also playing for the University of Southern California, went on to play in Europe. Kasi at that time, wala pang WNBA nun eh. So the girl went on to play in Europe. She was winning championships left and right. Tapos itong si lalaki, an ACL injury, wasn't able to play. Tapos may mga fatherly issues pa siya. So, parang nagiging insecure siya and all that. And then, things happen. And then, they got back together. Tapos, eventually, the girl played in the WNBA.
Right.
While the guy was just a fan anymore. And then, they have a kid. So, parang ganun. Yun yung story niya.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And that Love and Basketball lost. Being a number 7th ranked team, they lost to Like Mike. I forget the voting, but they did lose to Like Mike. Probably because people are more familiar with Like Mike, or they're like the fact that they, other NBA players, the NBA players, pulled in that fandom, for Like Mike to be voted. And then the last bracket that was determined was White Men Can't Jump, that won over the Pistol, Birth of Legend. I would, I think it was a lopsided victory for White Men Can't Jump. Partly because people may be not familiar with Pistol, the Birth of a Legend.
Right.
But because White Men Can't Jump is really, I would say White Men Can't Jump.
This is a classic.
Much better. It's a classic.
It's a classic.
It's a classic movie.
If you're a basketball fan, who watches or at least enjoys movies related to basketball still, White Men Can't Jump is one of the must-watch. Kailangan mong panood yan para lang meron kang appreciation talaga. And it was actually a very it was a decent movie. I wouldn't say it's a good movie. I would say it's decent.
I would say it's top 5 all time. It's a top 5 basketball movie for me. And yung isang nag-comment na friend ko nga said, it is a staple parang for basketball movies. So yeah, I mean that one, and onto the Elite 8. Diba?
Yeah. And Woody Harrelson, by the way, mahilig siya sa basketball, obviously, because some films that he did, may mga talagang basketball scene siya, right? So one example of that is yung Friends with Benefits, along with Justin Timberlake. White Men Can't Jump.
Really? He was there?
Yeah, he was there. Woody Harrelson, di ba siya yung gay guy doon na editor from nakasama niya ni Justin Timberlake?
I honestly hindi ko pa napapanood yung Friends with Benefits.
Is it Friends
I'll
with Benefits?
watch it.
Let me just
Well,
check.
Justin Timberlake was there with Natalie Portman.
No.
Yeah, I think
The Friends with
no, that's
Benefits.
Mila Kunis.
Yeah. So
Right.
may
Okay,
may
so
scene
it
doon
wasn't-
na basketball sila. Anyway, it's basically just a short film. But alright, onwards to the Elite Eight. Chip.
Elite Eight, yeah. So, and then, eto nga yung nangyari. And what do you think happened when in the Elite Eight?
Ako,
anong palagay mo?
honestly.
Coach Carter blue chips.
Coach Carter, I would for sure Coach Carter ako moving forward to the Final Four versus Blue Chips.
Okay.
For one, Blue Chips kasi I haven't watched personally. And if I do watch, I think the impact of Coach Carter being a true story and all, na-interpret siya with the movie, I think has a bigger impact. So I'm saying Coach Carter.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay. Well, and that Coach Carter was actually the one that won that match.
Good.
So
I agree with that.
That was a good choice for you. Space Jam versus
Naku,
Hoosiers.
Space Jam. Kasi, alam mo, before
Hoosiers. There we go.
Before I go into the parang another issue with Space Jam. Space Jam was actually a childhood movie. I watched this kasagsagan, of course, yung kasagsagan ng career ni Michael Jordan. But the thing for me
when he
here
came back.
and when he came back, right? But the thing here for me is it's Looney Tunes. And I love Looney Tunes. It's Bugs Bunny and the gang. Paborito ko yan. So it was actually I would say Space Jam is a cult classic. Because of the combination of the cartoon characters. It was a very basic story. Maybe far-fetched, pero I think Space Jam won over Hoosiers.
Yeah, that's true. Space Jam won handily. The score was 9-4, 9 votes to 4. Yeah, it was that Elite Eight matchup. So Space Jam eventually moved on to the Final Four. So in the next bracket, it was semi-pro versus He Got Game. 11th seed semi-pro versus number 3 seed He Got Game. What's your take on this, Carlo?
I think this was an upset. I feel semi-pro won over because of its comedic value versus He Got Game. I mean, He Got Game, like what you said, medyo so-so lang siya, right? Versus
Not really. It
Not
wasn't really so-so for me. It was nagustuhan. Ako personally, I like He Got Game.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised by this result when it happened, and that's true. Semi-Pro won this with malamang talaga the comedic factor of Semi-Pro really did it. But there were a few people who were really kind of giving Semi-Pro that push by saying ELE all the way, or in Semi-Pro, what was that line? Everybody love everybody.
And
so
one more.
There were a few people who were a few people who kind of pushed that for it. So parang meron ng backing dun. And probably that led to the upset.
Yeah, and mga classic lines like what you said, yung well, actually it's a song, Love Me Sexy, na created specifically for that movie. Na sobrang nakakatawa. Plus, one other thing that the character said there na after the cameras were cut during the live game, sabi, someone hit somebody! And then
somebody hit somebody.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure.
There are some classic lines in that movie.
Interesting. And okay, so I think it wasn't a surprise for me that, Semi-Pro moved forward. And then
it
lastly,
wasn't a surprise for you.
Yeah, lastly
it was White Men Can't Jump versus Like Mike.
Oh gosh.
Alright, 2 seed White Men Can't Jump, and then 10 seed Like Mike. So when I posted this, inisip ko na at that time that White Men Can't Jump can't lose to Like Mike. That's going to be controversial if Like Mike
no-brainer
won
na siya,
that
no?
bracket.
For sure.
It would be, well, yun yung sa akin lang na it's not like no-brainer, but for me it was, come on guys, seriously? You're going to let Like Mike win? Thankfully, hindi naman nangyari yun.
Well, ako, I'm sure White Men Can't Jump move forward. Because again, it's a classic. It's a basketball classic. It's a must-know for basketball fans. So, what was the result?
The result, well, White Men Can't Jump won.
Okay, good. God,
and by a landslide. By a landslide.
Okay,
so,
good.
So, was the last match for that one, which basically set up the final four for basketball, for the movie Madness basketball tournament, which had number 1 Coach Carter meeting Space Jam, which is a 5 seed, and then in the other bracket you have number 11 Semi-Pro, the Cinderella story, the underdogs, the everyone that wants to root for, going up against White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
And White Men Can't Jump being a 2 seed. My thoughts on this one was, naisip ko pa lang when I reviewed the results for Semi-Pro, parang people were already, parang may backing na si Semi-Pro. People were already preferring Semi-Pro to go all the way. There were some of them who did that.
Right.
So parang inisip ko, over White Men Can't Jump, I would have, ako personal preference ko na was White Men Can't Jump over Semi-Pro.
Right.
Yun yung yun yung preference ko na. So parang please make White Men Can't Jump win. Not that I don't want Semi-Pro. Pero parang naisip ko kasi hindi na ganun ka-objective yung ibang tao. Na parang when they see Semi-Pro, sige, go na tayo Semi-Pro. So parang doon ako na doon parang na-skew ng konti yung, well, to my mind, parang yung voting or something, diba? But yeah, nonetheless, Coach Carter versus Space Jam, what's your take?
Yeah, so first of all, God, actually, when I saw the final four lineup, parang nahirapan na ako to decide which ones. I mean, yeah, yung contention between the two is already very tough to decide on. Space Jam, again, dahil childhood movie siya, it was Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, playing basketball and stuff, plus Michael Jordan in the mix. And versus Coach Carter na nitty-gritty, very realistic, very down. I'm not sure if the term is correct, but down to earth maybe. Very rooted in very grassroots basketball and the reality of what basketball is in the US. Ang hirap i-contest
Yeah.
So I'm saying, God, siguro may konting alas si Space Jam going into the national championship. But I would say
because
Coach
of MJ?
Yeah, it's the overall lang. Siguro it's the overall charm of the movie. But I would have to say Coach Carter went on to the national championship.
Well, that's correct. Coach Carter went on by a big margin.
Oh, really? Okay.
Big margin siya. Even the comment section really showed love for Coach Carter more than Space Jam. Space Jam had a good run, kung tutuusin.
Correct.
But Coach Carter, being a juggernaut that it is, and really is one
number
of the best
one
movies.
Oh,
number 1 ranked movie yan. So that's like a juggernaut right there. And I really thought Coach Carter had a good run. Pero something told me that maybe Coach Carter is not going to be judged as the best basketball movie.
Yeah.
Because what happened in the other bracket between Semi-Pro and White Men Can't Jump is it was a landslide. It was not just an upset. Hindi siya yung parang the underdog pulled it off in overtime. Parang ang final score sa basketball 77 to 43. Yung parang ganun yung final score niya, because it was a landslide. It was I would say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah. The lead of Semi-Pro in terms of votes was double the number of votes that White Men Can't Jump received in that bracket tournament. That actually enabled Semi-Pro to face off with Coach Carter for the 2020 tournament for the best basketball movie.
The Chip Lopez Invitational, Oh.
The Chip Lopez Invitational.
So,
number 1 Coach Carter. I like that. Pang yan? Pampolitika yan,
may pa soft drinks ka, tsaka may pa monay.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Monay. Okay. So, that in my 2020 tournament for the best basketball movie, it pit sa national championship, number 1 seed Coach Carter versus number 11 seed Semi-Pro. Now, before we went into that, I actually had a battle for third.
Okay.
A battle for third.
Which was?
Just to have a bronze. Someone may top 3 naman, diba? Because before in the NCAA tournament, meron silang battle for third. Tinanggal na nila yun because for some it doesn't make sense. Parang your battle for consolation prize.
Kasi nga
you're battling for a consolation
identification
prize.
of the best the national champion talaga, right?
Oh, so parang what?
Doesn't
parang
make sense.
Eventually they thought of it as a battle for third is like just playing for the sake of it, for the heck of it. So let's just scrap it all together. They did that, I think, in the 1980s. That was the last time that they played a battle for third.
Okay.
I forget what the result was, but yeah, I read about it somewhere.
Okay.
But anyway,
battle for third.
Ito yung ginawa ko dito.
Uh-huh.
Battle for third, it was number 2, White Men Can't Jump versus number 5, Space Jam.
Shoot.
There were only 10 votes for this one. So it could be even.
Oh,
but it
50-50.
wasn't. What's your take?
Oh God.
You didn't vote in this.
I did not see the battle for third.
Talaga?
Oh, pero okay. Oh God, that's tough. I would say Space Jam pa rin. I mean, gusto ko lang kasi Space Jam to be still recognized as one of the best. It's a fun movie, basketball movie siya. It's something that you can watch even if you're not a fan. Tapos it's a great introduction to basketball kasi you're looking at the life of one of the greatest basketball, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. MJ, na very very easy to digest siya for non-basketball audiences. So I'd say and versus White Men Can't Jump na medyo naging siya, more leaning towards siya to a cult classic kasi si White Men Can't Jump. So yeah, I'm saying Space Jam.
Space Jam did win that third place game. The score was 8-2 in favor of Space Jam.
Okay.
So yeah, you have the third place in Space Jam. You have White Men Can't Jump going from number 2 to number 4. Tapos si Space Jam, at least on my list, went from number 5 to number 3. So
nabatuhan ng tres ni Bugs Bunny yan no?
Nabatuhan ng tres. Hindi kailangan ni Jordan mag-extend ng arm . So it was really a lopsided win for the Toon Squad. We have the Toon Squad, yeah. So we have Coach Carter, number 1 seed, versus Semi-Pro as the 11th seed. There were 35 votes for this one.
Okay.
35
as expected
votes.
from the
Pretty
finals.
big, I would say.
Yeah, as expected. Alam mo, just apologies on my end kasi every time I hear the word semi-pro, natatawa lang talaga ako. And for sure, papanoorin ko to ulit mamaya. See, it was okay. So this is why this is funny to me. Meron kaming tinatawag ni Chip na list of movies na we call very absurd and very, I would say very culturally significant in every sarcasm I can say that. Kasi like for example, ito lang yung mga movies na you just want to laugh. We just want to relax. Gusto mo lang ng something very light.
Ayaw mo mag-isip.
Like, exactly. So, along those lines, Zohan, Zoolander. Exactly. So, yung mga types of movies na ganun. And Semi-Pro actually ranks one of the best. And it's Will Ferrell, right? It's comedic.
Dare kita, Carlo. Dare kita, Carlo, panoorin mo sa Holy Weekend. Mismong Good Friday.
Ayoko nga. I don't want to go to hell. But yeah, I mean, Semi-Pro, like what we said, it's actually politically incorrect and very offensive. It's not as offensive as the movies that we've mentioned, like Zoolander and si Zohan. Pero it's just funny. It's just funny. And it took basketball not too seriously. And it was a time that yung parang desperation din of the ABA to try to merge itself to the NBA, one of the premier leagues growing in that time. And it was just a comedic situation that they turned everything funny. It's very entertaining, I would say. So that's why I think that's the appeal of Semi-Pro as a movie. Of course, the talent behind it, Will Ferrell, and this is Woody Harrelson. And you will also wonder whether story of semi-pro, their story regarding how the alley-oop was invented is actually really true. So, ang
Parang akala mo trade secret no?
Trade secret siya na,
or invention.
My mom came to me in a dream and told me about this movie. She called it the alley-oop. What? But yeah, I think
typical Will Ferrell fashion yun.
Versus Coach Carter, which was, for me, it was serious. It was it actually easily digestible din siya kasi it's a drama naman on the flip side. For a drama film naman, it was very easy to digest kasi madami siyang elements and themes that's very, it touches your heartstrings and it touches your emotions in a very real way. And you can't believe that it's actually
inspiring, also, right?
Inspiring, very inspiring also. And you can't believe that this really happened. Talagang naging true story siya. It was covered rather. It was covered in the national news. Na and that's for me, for us actually with Chip, where we espoused the term of student athlete. Na every time Coach Carter was saying these things, agree lang kami na agree. Na tama. Student first. You are a student athlete, and that's one of the biggest things that appeal of the movie is, for me, at least for me.
That's another issue altogether, no?
I mean, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. In terms of what happened here in this the championship round, which actually, it suited what really is a championship game is all about.
Yeah.
Na very close ang game. It happened. It took a few shots here and there, and it could have, without the comment section, this would have went down in a tie.
Right.
Honestly, because the final score was 13 votes or 13 likes for Coach Carter, and 13 likes for semi-pro. What the game breaker or the game changer was, Coach Carter, semi-pro received 3 comment votes that actually enabled the tiebreaker, and that made them to be judged as the best basketball movie in the Chip Lopez 2020 national.
The commissioner made the decision to include the comment votes.
Yeah, no, I really put that in the very beginning. If people don't want to comment, parang ano mangyayari dyan, if you tag this emoji and then you put it in a comment section also, or parang nag-comment ka with something that would favor this certain movie, that is tagged as another vote. So parang may double vote ka doon.
Right. So may meron kang leeway ka, or meron kang plan B kumbaga, if ever anything goes into
yeah, oo. Or at the same time, if people would actually get it, na parang, uy, dapat nag-comment ako para double yung vote. So, yun. Some people probably got that.
Yeah.
Because I think I had the friend, hindi, nag-comment lang siya. Pero, yeah, hindi siya, some commented, some liked, and then some of them didn't do it twice. So parang, some of them didn't comment and like. Parang hindi nila get yung part na yun.
Right.
Which also actually happened in my American football movie Madnes. Na ganun din, down the wire yung nangyari doon. So yeah, but nonetheless, going back,
the beauty
semi-pro,
of this, the beauty of this, you actually had the people decide. Although medyo cancer yung selection kasi semi-pro yung nanalo over Coach Carter. So we're not putting any personal bias here. It was through votation. So kasi kung kami, if I'm going to be asked if Coach Carter versus semi-pro would win, anak ng tinapa naman, siyempre Coach Carter would have the advantage over it, right? Because of the siguro if we're basing it on the criteria. But no, it was really a votation. So it was really actually like simulating a game. Parang nagkaroon ng 2K simulation sa ginawa mong votation style. So hindi siya, it was real time, right? Kasi bumoboto yung mga tao and you're tallying the results. So naging mala basketball tournament nga siya. This was the beauty of it. So the number one movie,
number one movie for as of 2020. As of April 13, 2020, was number 11 seed semi-pro that beat that sneaked by Coach Carter being the number 1 seed and ultimately became 2020 best basketball movie ever. Diba? But it in true March Madness fashion, coming out of nowhere, an 11 seed to win the entire thing is very unheard of. Kasi in the US, I think the lowest seed to win the NCAA tournament was the lowest seed to win the NCAA tournament was back in the 1980s, and I'm thinking hindi. It wasn't Connecticut in 2014. It wasn't. I think they were a 4 seed at that time. So I think it was Villanova, the University of Villanova, the Villanova Wildcats in the 1985-86. I'm kind of trying to recall kasi what I read. Against Georgetown. Against Patrick
Ewing. Yeah.
And Georgetown. That was in 85. I think it was in 1985. Because Patrick Ewing became the number 1 pick in the 1985 NBA draft. So, yeah, it was then that the lowest seed to win the NCAA championship game was number 8. Number 8. They were an 8 seed, the Villanova Wildcats. Led by someone named Ed Pinckney, who played later on for the Boston Celtics. So yeah, they were the lowest seed ever to win the entire thing. And yun yung essence ng March Madness.
Right.
People can win over everybody. I mean, any team can beat anybody. Diyan pumapasok, Carlo, yung kasabihan na bilog ang bole. Ball is round. Right? So, no matter if you're facing the top team or the lowest of, or the 16th or the 30 or the 16 seed, no matter what,
it will all come down to the wire talaga, no? Yeah.
It really would come down to how you play the game. Sorry, nagma-match point na ba ako? Pero, yeah.
No. I mean, we can do the match point, regarding how the movies. But I do have a few questions for you, Chip, before we move on to our match point.
All right, sure.
But yeah, I agree with you na kasi what comes to mind is at least for me, right, football, the FA Cup in England. So it's somewhat similar to what the format is with March Madness. Kasi nagkakaroon siya ng tiering, right? In the English Premier League and the other leagues in Europe, nagkakaroon siya ng tiering. Premier League, and then the Championship, and then the other teams below it. But when it comes to the Cup, or the FA Cup, the Football Association Cup, anyone, or the champion, or what we call minnows, or these are the smaller teams compared to the bigger teams like Manchester United and some other teams. So meron siyang chance talaga it will, like what I said, it will come down to the wire. When you play the game, pwedeng manalo itong like a very small club versus the bigger clubs, and then you can proceed on to the final. So that's actually the essence of the FA Cup, which is very similar with the March Madness format. But
correct.
Sweet 16, Chip, let's just go back quickly. Is there any movie here that you'd like to have gone through further compared to the votation? So in terms of your personal preference, ano yung favorite mo dito?
Sweet 16
from the Sweet 16 list.
Wow. Well, honestly, definitely not semi-pro. It wasn't my favorite out of the bunch. It would be siguro may certain bias kasi ako kay Coach Carter.
Right.
Because, well, apart from the fact that I've seen it a lot of times, I've kind of memorized some of the lines there.
You often quote that movie
in exaggerating or normal movie fashion or normal saying fashion. And I have quoted that in one of the articles that I wrote for our school paper before. And, because I kind of, hindi naman nakaka-relate ako with Coach Carter, with the movie. But it gave me certain reminders of what a student athlete is, or and that they should be kept in check, or that no one's above the law, that people, they shouldn't get any special treatment, yada yada yada. Pero it's about playing the game the right way, right? It's like playing the game the right way. Huwag ka mangdaya, abide by certain systems or rules or whatever in order for you to play the game. And that I think Coach Carter personally should have went all. They did go all the way. They almost had it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They were winning left and right until that tightly contested voting against semi-pro. So, munti ka na. Pero, I wasn't disappointed with the result kasi it kind of validated that Coach Carter is indeed one of the best basketball movies.
Right.
Even if nakakasawa siya or it's too mainstream or yung ganun,
It's
no?
it's
Yung
parang
ganung flavor.
medyo gas-gas na din kasi si Coach Carter kasi
Correct.
it was that good, to be honest. Kaya siya often quoted, like what you said, and very, very popular, I would say. But if you'll ask me, I would have preferred Finding Forrester to have a higher place on the bracket.
Or a higher rank.
A higher rank.
Bracket.
Sana man lang nagkaroon
it's not a number 13 seed pala for you.
It should have been higher. And the reason behind that is, of course, Sean Connery, number one. It was a departure from his James Bond persona. And this was in the year 2000 exactly, na nagkakaroon na siya ng transition towards his retirement. He's just, moving out of the limelight already in the silver screen. And it was one of the movies that I really liked. Meron siyang deeper meaning behind it because the story was about a gifted student, right? Jamal Wallace, na he was downplaying his potential as a gifted student. He was very good in philosophy. He was reading a lot of books. Very gifted.
Yeah.
But he was also a good basketball player. So parang nagkaroon siya ng premise or parang crux of this discussion between his choice of defining himself as a basketball player, potentially moving into the pros, or someone who will be investing in his academic future. And he had this mentor, a writer, nagkaroon siya ng one-hit wonder na book. And he was mentoring him about choices in life, blah blah blah, and so on. So very poignant yung movie na yon for me, and it was it had a deeper message between it. The pacing was a bit slow, pero honestly it didn't matter because the whole point of the movie was much better than anticipated. So yun yung I would have wanted. I actually voted for that movie to have, and I hope for that movie to move forward further into the list. But unfortunately, it was beat out. Pero again,
actually, the black guy, si Rob Brown, the one who played Jamal Wallace, was also in Coach
Carter. Yeah.
Was also in Coach Carter. And the thing is, dun sa Coach Carter, din siya, studious guy, hindi lang siya puro basketball. Very similar ang character that he played, that he portrayed
he did.
in both movies. Ako personally, if I saw, because I didn't watch Finding Forrester until I was an adult already. Yes, believe it or not, I didn't see it when it came out in year 2000.
Yeah.
Nor when I was in college and I was already an adult. So parang, I think it was good that I saw the movie. And yes, actually, I saw the movie just last year. Before I had this tournament and during the pandemic. I watched this movie last year just to see what it's all about, because my wife also raved about it and she was perplexed as to why me being a basketball fan I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this movie. So parang pinanood ko, and dun again, if I watched this back when I was in high school or in college, probably I wouldn't be able to appreciate it.
Right.
Pero ito mas naintindihan ko siguro. But mas na-appreciate ko. So, yeah, I probably would have to agree with you that it could have gone a little higher in the rankings.
In the rankings and further in the bracket, I would say. Yeah. Pero, I mean, the overall, I think, tournament was a very good turnout naman. I mean, you get to, at least if you're watching these movies in the future, you'll be able to have some appreciation of the movies you haven't watched yet na, for example, like what you mentioned, Chip, na I'm actually curious to watch Basketball Diaries or Blue Chips, just to refresh my memory with these movies. Pero for the classics like Space Jam na paulit-ulit na and Coach Carter, I mean, you if you're also stuck in the pandemic still and wala ka masyado mapanood, I mean, it's worth a good revisit, from this list.
Right. I think yeah, I would also credit a friend of mine who I would also credit a friend of mine who actually suggested that I do he didn't suggest this specifically. He suggested that I do something na parang out of the ordinary kasi maliban sa puro trabaho, di ba? Puro trabaho, no TV or whatnot. Parang why don't I do something out of the ordinary, or why don't I do something different at the
Right.
in its simplest sense? Because yun nga pandemya wala kang magagawa. Your mental health could actually be could actually use a little exercise, diba? And could use a little treatment or tender loving care. So yeah,
Yeah.
I credit that friend of mine who suggested that I do something different, and this is what I did.
Yeah.
And true enough, parang naisip ko, okay, after this I carried it on with a football tournament which we can cover later on in another episode, Carlo. Yung
Yep. Sure.
the Super Bowl of American football movies. We will come back to that
Okay.
together.
Yeah, definitely,
some other
definitely
time
we'll
since
we'll
we're
have a revisit
running
that
out.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sige, Commissioner Barangay League Chip Lopez Invitational. Let's go to our match point.
Match point. Okay.
Let me just start. So the overall experience of a March Madness type of tournament is that one of the things that Chip mentioned is the anyone can win, and if we had more participation on this, and I hope that we can do something similar in the future, na magkaroon tayo ng an updated Chip Lopez Invitational in the future that people can get to vote. Maybe not just in sports movies, right? Let's talk about series maybe, or let's talk about movies in the future when it comes to this format. So let's that's what I'm looking forward to. And my match point basically is that with engagement and participation, especially if it's something that you are familiar with, go ahead and vote. Present the case why this is the best movie you've ever watched, or so on. And we hope that we can do that with our audience in the future.
Okay. Good. Match point ko naman, Carlo. I would say I'm not invalidating yung result kasi there were some people are really biased with what happened.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even if it did not go in my favor, I'm not invalidating that. There is a reason kasi that you tagged as this thing as the best thing there is. Best being subjective. And we covered that in our episode 2 of our podcast, wherein we
Yeah, our
tackled
GOATs
the
episode.
greatest of all time. Our GOAT episode. And that's very subjective. And I don't mind if people will say that Semi-Pro is the best, or Space Jam, or Space Jam 2 with LeBron, or
God, yeah.
Finding Forrester in your case being the best, or let's say that this ranking is not very definitive at all. Dapat itong movie na to, it is in number 2 or number 3, parang ganon. I'm not invalidating those. Because that's the beauty of March Madness of the NCAA type tournament, wherein it's what they call one and done. You win one, you go on to the next round. You lose one, you're done.
You're done.
You go home. So that's why I like the March Madness type of tournament. I like it better than the NBA playoffs. Because in the NBA playoffs, you have 7 games. You really do think that upsets happen often in a 7-game series? I don't think so. And a friend of mine, and I also heard this from Kenny Smith in NBA on Inside the NBA, that underdogs don't really have a chance at all to go all the way. You really have to be a superior team in order for you to have higher chances of winning the NBA, an NBA title. So you really think that in a 7-game series, underdogs can win? Medyo close to impossible. Because I can't recall the last underdog team that never won that actually won the NBA title. It was always really that the better team in a 7-game series actually won because they were far more superior, either in talent or as a team. So, so that's why you go back to March Madness style, wherein single elimination format. If you're a number one seed, you prove you're a once. You prove that you are deserving of that one seed by beating the other team in one game.
Yeah.
Parang, or if you're a 16 seed, walang hiyang NCAA selection committee to. Nilagay kami as 16 seed. Okay, sige, lalabanan ko kayo. And we will prove that our 16th rank, our 16 seed ranking is a fluke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Which was what happened before the very first time in NCAA tournament history wherein a 16 seed actually won over the number one seed. And that was 2 years ago. No, not 2 years ago. 3 years ago when the University of Maryland, Baltimore County beat the Villanova Wildcats, the number one seed in that tournament. They beat the Villanova Wildcats, making the Villanova Wildcats as the very first number one seed to lose in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. So, dun pa lang, parang, it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done.
And that's where
right?
that's where the similarities of this bracket of the
That's
movie.
where the similarities of my tournament, of that tournament, of that basketball tournament with March Madness. Kasi yun nga parang talaga matatalo si ganitong movie. Natalo to si White Man Can't Jump kay
well, obviously hindi naman siya yung talagang dynamics na may naglalaro talaga movie versus movie.
I mean, sure.
It was through the choice of the people, right? And like what you said, it was a by committee decision for people to be ranked by these rankings, right? So yun yung enjoyable doon with that experience.
And that's why I keep on doing the yearly March Madness game by game update in my Facebook page. Kasi I wanted to share that joy. I wanted to share that feeling that college basketball, kahit sabi mo ng amateur rules, kahit sabi mo ng it's not as high scoring as the pros, it really still is enjoyable. Plus the fact that if you haven't been in a college basketball game, whether in the UAAP or the NCAA, you won't really get that feeling. But I encourage you to have that feeling. Kasi parang college basketball, it's all about passion. It's all about zeal. It's all about that you're supporting 100% your team. Unlike in the pros na parang you're part of the wine and cheese crowd wherein you just sit there, clapping your hands. Oh, LeBron, yeah, good job. But it's not as, it's a different thing when you're feeling it, when you're wearing your school colors. Not that I'm not saying that I'm a student or I'm an alumnus in any of the colleges in the States. Pero na-feel ko yun na parang yung excitement niya nandun. Mas feeling ko mas meron talaga with college basketball.
Obviously,
more than the pros.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but
so
before
and that's why people would and sorry na lang talaga kung if I keep on flooding people's timelines, but yeah, I just wanted to share that passion. I wanted to share that share that excitement that college basketball brings or college football brings siguro, but I haven't put in my status posts about college football, but it's really more about college basketball.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of tweets nga actually from you and Gio, Joshua rather from you guys regarding the March Madness. But yeah, but before we round up things, let me just express my displeasure about Space Jam 2. So that's my displeasure.
Oh really?
Yeah, but
you haven't seen it and yet you're judging it already. Come on.
We will find out soon. There are things that I have to say about that movie, even if I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, I
think that could also be another topic
Yeah.
for our episode. Kasi, well, I'll cover that with you offline. Yeah. Let's not spoil it for other people and how we'll go about that.
Right.
So yeah, but going back, that was my match point, Carlo, with regard to the Movie Madness tournament.
Right. So that's the buzzer for another episode. We wanted to thank everyone for listening in and joining us today on our show. That's it for now. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, as always, please look us up on gamehigh.ph. We are still pushing out a lot of content every week. And if you are also following us on Facebook, please like and follow so you can get our latest updates from our page as well. We also have our Instagram, so we can go ahead and like our post there for the latest updates.
And as usual, guys, if you have any suggestions, violent reactions, or basically your thoughts on our current episode, we would love to hear from you. Like, what is the best basketball movie for you after what you've heard from us? Hit us up in the comment section or message us through our Facebook or Instagram pages. Thank you again for listening to us. This is Chip.
And this is Carlo.
Cheers. We'll see you then.
Ciao.